Welcome to Breaking Solo, how solopreneurs break barriers, build brands, and embrace the future of business.
Hi, Ryan. Welcome to the podcast. I'm glad to have you here and would love for you to tell the audience about yourself.
Yeah, good morning, Donna. Thanks for having me. My name is Ryan Ware. I am the founder of Connective Consulting Group and Connective Coaching. I've spent my career in the construction industry, both practicing architecture and diving into fabrication, advanced construction methodologies, and then founding and leading a construction company until this point. So I'm excited to have the conversation.
Awesome. So, what inspired you to go into business for yourself?
Yeah. It's funny because if I think back, I'm always like, oh, I've loved teams and leading companies and being around people. And then at the same time, there were enough signals, I think, throughout my career that it would probably end up in this direction some way. Um, but for me, it's really an area where I just wanted to take a leap of owning my own company, but really driven towards my overall purpose to where I didn't really need other people to necessarily dive into the purpose that I was aiming to focus on. I just needed to really have passion around the problem that I was aiming to solve, and finding avenues and a way to do it. So for me, it was just the opportunity was right. The timing was right to take the leap. I had built myself up to that opportunity financially, and finding a path to do it just made sense, and kind of stepping away from the corporate world and leading teams into being a little bit alone on the solo side.
I don't mind being alone.
It has its moments.
Yeah. There are times when I need people, but I'll just go to lunch with somebody.
Yeah, still having that network. Yeah,
Yeah,
to get back to.
exactly. Okay, so what's been your biggest challenge in your solopreneur journey and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I think it goes right to that conversation we talked about. It's the when you leap out of that, leadership where I was in a larger company, numerous larger companies, and you have this connection to other people who are all on that same mission. Um, there is that sense there is a sense even as a CEO or a president of a company to have a little bit of loneliness at the top. But for me, it's like the brainstorming. It's the having someone to bounce ideas off. So still finding that, whether it's through other coaches or other consultants or other people in the industry, to just find a way, like you said, go have lunch and like bring up, talk a little bit about what you're doing, but just be able to ask questions to like free yourself into brainstorming and thinking. My best friend is a whiteboard, which is kind of funny because it's non-technology, but it's an area where I can just fill and with no judgment. Doesn't have to be perfect. It still leads me into that area of exploration. So I would say the hardest part is just you are alone, and you can chatbot it, you can use AI, you can brainstorm all of these areas, but there's nothing like having another human on the other side of the conversation to just bring up that energy level. Um, and that's really where my focus kind of, in order to solve it, it's building that network, going back to old connections that I hadn't talked to in a while, just reconnecting with them, finding out what's going on, staying in touch with those areas to make sure, the purpose of what I'm aiming to do, that problem still exists or does it need redefined depending on the current situations and things like that. So I think for me, it's getting out of that, uncomfortable feeling of sending a note to somebody you haven't talked to in a long time, or reaching out to somebody that it hasn't been as long, but are busy, and just finding a way to not make it about you, but just open the door for conversation again. So,
Yeah. I have here locally 2 other marketers, and we meet once a month for lunch, and we complain, we tell each other our wins, we get
Right.
advice, all of that makes it a little easier to
Yeah.
work through the day to day.
Sanity lunch, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm interested to hear about your unique niche.
yeah, it's unique because it's the construction industry, which I think a lot of people they know enough about it. They recognize it as the cones on the side of the road and the thing that's not getting done, and they watch it get done. But I growing up, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be an architect. I knew I wanted to leave architecture and go into construction. I wasn't quite sure after that what it would end up doing, development or some form of kind of staying into training. So the construction industry it's an enormous part of our gross domestic product here in the United States. A lot of people work within it, in 8 to 10 million, somewhere in the line, the supply chain line, as it relates to construction. We're all impacted by it. So for me, it has always been about the occupants within the building, whether it's, education, they're in there to learn, they're in there to heal, they're living within that space, or learning within it. I wanted to be a part of that. So what I found though early on is that we are terrible at change within that industry. I watch painfully going from hand drafting to AutoCAD to Revit, which are forms of technology, and then new innovations as they come up in their industry. But I kept hearing the same, not complaints, but concerns with like what was happening within the industry of not enough labor. I mean, there hasn't been enough labor in that industry since before I was born. And, statistics show that. And for me, I was like, from a very young age of going, well, then if we're not going to fix it, like who's going to fix it? There's no magic wand. Like we had to figure this out. So my niche is really from my consulting and coaching. So it's really about helping future construction industry leaders build stronger relationships with change so that they can navigate it with confidence and agility, which is kind of in reverse of what's happening, in the past, and where it's the resistance is there, and I don't blame the resistance. That's the human complexity side that we face. But we need to be able to go towards someone and kind of understand what their concerns are, and hear from them. So I really focus in on trying to go through change management, coaching and leadership development, and helping teams go back and look at new processes, new innovations, ways they can advance their industry while also adding in business acumen and leadership development, and some of those, I won't call them soft skills, but they're transformational leadership, creating psychological safety within teams, and staying towards their purpose of wanting to obviously design buildings and build buildings. But I want to help them become better at navigating change so that they actually understand it's not just, hey, this is a huge problem, I don't know how to even know where to start. It's like you take one step. If you take one step and 8 million other people do, we've made 8 million steps. And the goal would be is just one group at a time, one person at a time, really saying like, hey, it is on us, and we can't wait. Calvary's not coming. We want change. We're going to have to recognize it, understand how we feel about it, take those emotions and use them as opportunity to lead change. So
Very interesting. I don't think I've spoken to anyone that takes on the challenge of change.
yeah, it's a passion of mine. I don't know I've read so many books. I've now, gone and got certified to understand the science and coaching and get certifications, working on that. Well, also from a consulting side, what I noticed running operations was really that you can't, it doesn't matter what the tool is, it doesn't matter what the process, it doesn't matter the system. It only matters the other humans on the other side of that and how you are going to connect them to the change. And I just, from probably my early age on, I was like, well, I don't know. I just feel like we can change it. Like if we can, then who can? And not only that, it's like it's not happening to you, it's happening with you. Like, I'm a bald man. It didn't happen to me. It's happening with me. So is aging, like it is all part of it. So helping people kind of just build those stronger relationships with change is very important.
That's awesome. Okay. Do you see any shifts happening that could change the way solopreneurs work in the future?
It's funny because everybody's on obviously with technology and AI, and I think it's interesting because it gives us obviously a tool. The way I work is I'm based in Cleveland, Ohio. I got one client in Cleveland, Ohio. The rest of my clients are over, the States. So, or North America. So I look at it like, how does an solo entrepreneur really develop true relationships across a country? That it's so important to have that human connection piece. So for me, it's again, finding ways to connect to other humans because that's what I'm dealing with, and AI isn't going to solve that. I don't think, I'm looking at it from a standpoint, I don't think the metaverse is going to give me the energy I need to walk into and do a keynote speak, here's my avatar and I'm doing a keynote. I need the room. I need the experience. So for me, I'm staying in yes, I want the technology. I'll do all the technology, but I think it's still back to relationships in some cases for me, because I'm so tied to that human connection piece of change. I can coach virtual, I can coach in this manner, the way you and I are having a discussion over video. I can see reactions. I can hear all those things, but I can't go into an organization and help them with a massive change without watching them, observing them, and being a part of that. So I go back to, for me, the biggest part is how do I build a big enough network that isn't living on LinkedIn, that sometimes from a solo entrepreneur, it feels like you're throwing seeds into the air.
Mhm.
And the wind's blowing right back in your face. And you're like, well, best of luck. How's that going to work? So I think there's got to be another way to connect us. This is a great way to learn other people that are out there doing things. Your podcast is one, but there, ways that we're not in competition with one another, but having platforms and a way to connect that we can sort of, build a network. I do that with other fractional CFOs, CMOs, and operations people who are out there doing it by themselves, that we can go in and build sort of partnerships and working and helping clients. So I'm not sure that fully answered it. I think for me, it's like the technology, I have it, but it's not necessarily what's going to get me to that next level when I need relationships.
Exactly. You can't just depend on the technology. Okay. There has to be a tool, an app, a resource that you absolutely can't live without in your business.
Yeah. The one that, I use a lot of, software, softwares like HoneyBook and Canva, and everybody kind of talks about that. But the one thing I mentioned, the whiteboard is one thing that helps me. the thing the tool that I use, or the product that I use, is called Remarkable. It is a digital notebook that I can hold in my hands and take notes with my coaching clients, but it's a way for me to, like, I don't have to use paper. It's technology. It goes up to the cloud. I can translate it into typed format if I want to. I can sketch. It is my go-to. I can't carry a whiteboard around with me, but I could take this, and there's no judgment. It's not like, hey, you misspelled that word the way Word, Word, like, I don't want to think about editing my solution yet, like, give me a minute. So Remarkable doesn't judge me, right? It's just sketch it, write it, and we'll figure it out, right? Which is, I think, sort of how business goes. That you just want to get the idea down on paper. So that has been, I mean, I got it a couple years ago. It's been phenomenal. I love it. It's sitting right next to me, charging at the moment, but everything that I think about goes into there, and provides me a pathway to, again, be in that creative curiosity state.
So you found a way to use technology, yet still kind of put pen to paper, which is how we humans will absorb it faster, maintain it. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's how I've learned. That's how I learned in school. I had to rewrite things numerous times. I mentioned I came from architecture, so I was sketching from a young age. It's my release, to doodle, sketch crazy lines, think of things, like, just get into that creative space. So it is a way I want more from less. I don't want to think about a lot of paper. I don't want to have to buy a lot of pens, even though I have them and I still utilize them, because sometimes that still feels, but this is so, again, remarkable that it feels like paper. And from the designer side, it just is like, yeah, that's what I want back out of this.
That's pretty great. Okay, do you have daily habits or routines that help you stay focused and productive?
Yeah. I've been getting up 4:30 in the morning for the last 15 plus years.
Oh my gosh.
And even before that, a little bit, I work out every morning. So get up. Now I do it at home, but I used to go to a gym. So we used to call us 5 a.m. crazies when I went to the gym. But it's, I love to work out. I used to run. Can't do that much anymore. Riding a bike in Cleveland is pretty dangerous. It's not a bike friendly city like Columbus or the Bay Area where I used to live. So for me, it's getting into that routine of really what brings me to kind of that peaceful thinking of, now I got my workout in, I'm getting ready for work. I always sit down and read, do the best I can, read 25 minutes every morning. I try to read a couple books at a time. Get ready, get the coffee, get ready for breakfast, head back down to the office where I work. And every morning it's the same routine. It is prospecting. It is get in the CRM, take care of the task, take care of responses, get all of that cleared out, and then I can move on to the day with clients or whatever thing that I'm focusing on at the time, whether it's finding coaching business or consulting or speaking opportunities. If I can go through some call it a power hour, it's whatever you want to call it. It is just that way. I'm not sitting staring at an email like, is something coming in? I just clear that out, and then I can check in with it later so that I can really stay focused on the things in front of me.
Awesome. I don't think I'll ever get up at 4:30 in the morning to work out.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that there are people like you that do.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it later in the day. It's just, there is that sense of like energy that comes, everything, my body's ready to go. My mind's ready to go. Something about the end of the day is like the least likely thing that I want to do. I'll go walk, but like to go stare at a gym and a weight, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, this isn't gonna happen. So
It's, that's good. Good for you. Okay. If you could go back and do one thing differently in your business, what would it be?
yeah, it's interesting. I I have three different parts of the business, but I started with one, and I think the rhythm and the way I needed to do it kind of just worked itself out because of certifications. But the one thing that I tried, this is like a marketing thing, and this goes back to that warm connection. I did try, you know, some support because there's some things that I just don't like doing, and lead gen, and I wish that I hadn't done that. I wish I hadn't invested that money and just invested in other areas. Just because there was no real relationship. One, no matter how much I wanted it to sound like me, um, it just felt cold. You know, they were cold connections, and it just didn't feel right. And you know that salesy side is where I get a little iffy. I tell people I don't sell things. I tell stories and I help other people. Like once I know I'm into that area, it might be a transaction eventually, but it's really more than that. I want to see a transformation happen in the relationship. So I think, you know, lead gen, everyone wants to tell you like, hey, we'll go get you leads, we'll do all this. I just, I shouldn't have done it. I tried it. I see what's working now that I'm taking a different approach and doing it myself. Um, you know, I'm a little bit like SEO is a little bit a question mark right now too. I mean, and just because of AI and everything, but right now, I think everything else is falling into place. I'm learning, I'm trying to do more A/B testing on marketing to get outreach, you know, tracking in the CRM, getting follow up, versus using any sort of lead gen source that, well, frankly, it's tended to be more of a waste of money from my side. And while I got connections out of it, I'm not. There's really nothing to do at the moment with it. It just was again throwing seeds into the air, winds blowing back, and hoping instead of having a strategy. So
Yeah, um, that's the area that I think most solopreneurs struggle with
yeah,
is lead gen. Yeah, they don't want to do it themselves, and it's really difficult to find another way to get it done.
yeah, it is hard. It is not. I mean, I found ways with coaching that get me to warmer leads, even though they don't know me. I know they're searching. There are other ways to technology to put on the websites to know if somebody's looking and ways to help and some of that AI versus, you know, outreach. But I have found like I've really just taken a mindset shift of like, well, what's the worst that could happen? Like if I just do it, like I'm the roadblock, right? Mentally, I'm coaching myself because that's what I do too, you know, for other people. I'm like, well, you got to try it. Like right now, you haven't tried it. So what would happen if you did? Build a program, build a plan, and just take steps. And then when they don't answer or they say no, move on. It's not the right time. You can't beat yourself up or get down that that didn't happen. It might take you 10,000 outreaches to get somewhere. There's other humans on the other side of that outreach. So I
Yeah,
think it's just that patience piece, which I'm not always great at, but learning every day how to be more patient with it. So
good for you. I used to manage a real estate office, 50 agents, and um, what I would say to them all the time is when you hear no, just, say next. It's
yeah,
not it's not the end of the world.
yep. Yeah, no, that's good advice. I mean, it is. I think we tend to There was a moment where I did a live session on LinkedIn and no one showed up. It was me sitting there in a blank room for a half hour, and that was a free just talk about what program I was going to do. And I did end up with my hands and my head in my hands with my head down, and I just coached myself through it, and I got right back up. I sent out 5, 6 outreaches, and I got 3 back and had meetings scheduled after that.
There
And
you
I was like, I can either sit here and play victim, blame everyone else, or just be like, all right, guy, it didn't work. What are you going to do now?
Yeah. Hey, I don't, if people were being honest, they would tell you that we've all ended up in a room by ourselves
Yeah.
where the audience didn't show.
Yep. Yep. That's fair.
Okay. Do you have any exciting projects or launches coming up that you'd like to share?
I think the biggest thing that I'm focusing on, because I had the consulting business, which is really the change management, fractional CO side for the construction industry. Then I've added the coaching last year, executive and organizational development, change coaching, which is different than the consulting. But now I'm starting my keynote speaking business. So I began working on that program a few months ago. I'm working on a new website, demo reel, the talks, and it goes back to what we were discussing before. It's around change, and the keynotes are really about just being that spark that kind of gets people thinking differently about change, so that they're ready to go to sort of the next steps. I haven't built workshops because I'm trying to get everyone to understand change is not an event. It is a journey. So I do engagements that are longer term, kind of, whether it's the change management, kind of going and doing discovery. So the keynotes, for me are, it's a passion project. I love being around people. I mentioned being in front of people. It comes from years of a speech impediment when I was younger and not saying a lot to, oh boy, this guy talks a lot. But I love the feeling of trying to create emotions within a room to get people to understand like the potential that they have as individuals, but being willing to go towards someone else to find out the potential, to become more curious about why something isn't working or something isn't changing. So the keynotes are really, it's a big part of the business for me, especially in the future as that second half of my career, that I can consult and coach and speak to help lead change, help go out there and get others within the industry or other areas of business where change is constantly happening and everyone's got change fatigue, like how to recognize those things. So I'm hopeful through the keynotes that, again, I just sparked that curiosity enough to get people to go, oh, yeah, I know. Okay, I recognize now this is hard and it's okay. Like, we'll be okay. But now what do we need to do? We need to ask more questions. So through that framework and through some of those discussions, I'm hopeful that I'm able to help other organizations or other individuals who are kind of leading their own businesses. So,
okay, where can people connect with you and learn more about what you do?
yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. It's probably my primary. You can look up Ryan Ware on LinkedIn. I'm based in Cleveland, so it'll show up as that keynote speaker. We'll have that link, I'm sure. But my website is connectiveconsultinggrp.com instead of group spelled out. So again, connectiveconsultinggrp.com. The coaching page is going to become revamped. As I mentioned, it's going to all be part of it. The speaking business will be there as well. New branding coming out a little bit, better describing Connective in the background. So those are primary areas. I'm also, from a business standpoint, I'm you can find me on Bark, which is an area for the coaching piece and the consulting as well. But my primary Connective Consulting has its own LinkedIn profile as well, so you can look up Connective Consulting Group. That's where we're just going to keep putting out things that hopefully spark people's thoughts, curiosity, maybe help them through a day. Not really asking for a lot, just share those when you recognize like, hey, this one hits home, or hey, I haven't thought about it in that way. So
Very cool. Thank you so much, Ryan, for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate it, and I know the audience is going to enjoy your episode.
yeah, thanks for having me, Donna.
Thank you.